Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Talk. This is a show where we discuss the week in Humboldt, the local issues, and the local personalities with local personalities. I'm Talvi Fried, and I'll be your local host for the next hour. The Eureka Chinatown Project is an initiative of the Humboldt Asians and Pacific Islanders in Solidarity, aka HAPI, and community members to honor the history and culture of the first Chinese people in Humboldt County, California. Coming up this Saturday, there will be a celebration of the Lunar Year of the Snake in front of the Clark Historical Museum. The street festival will feature performances by traditional line dancers, food vendors, and artists. Joining us tonight, we've got Chris Chu, program coordinator of the Eureka Chinatown Project, and Annette Makino, artist and poet, who will have art on display at the Morris Graves Museum and also is the organizer of the poetry exhibition that will be happening during the festivities. We will have Eric Tuan, composer and artistic director of the Piedmont East Bay Children's Choir, who will be performing the Echoes of Eureka concert during the events coming in later on the show. So hello. Hello to Chris and Annette.
Hello, hello.
Hello, thank you for having us on.
Yeah, I'm glad that you could make the show. For those who are listening live on KZZH 96.7 FM or online, if you have any questions for our guests, please text them. That's text 707-498-4146, 498-4146. All right, so we have going on, there's a lot going on in town. So this is quite possibly a very long time in the making. I know it's the past couple of years there has been a not an alms given to HAPI, but there was a lot of history here. So let's go to this with, what is the Eureka Chinatown Project?
Yeah, so the Eureka Chinatown Project, like you said before, is an initiative by HAPI. And really the Chinatown Project specifically wants to reclaim and honor the history, the culture, the untold stories of the historic Chinese community in Humboldt and raise awareness of the local Chinese expulsion events and any of the other stories that we can tell about them, as well as touch on the federal and state exclusionary acts and legislation that shaped the history and continues to shape our community today. Yeah.
So would you like to go into a little bit of the history of the Eureka Chinatown?
Yeah, so in the so the gold rush brought in a lot of immigrants to America and to California specifically, and a lot of Chinese people also came with that gold rush. And starting as early as the 1850s, Chinese citizens started moving up towards Humboldt and settling along the Eel and the Klamath River, mainly working in mines or working mining claims. And these Chinese citizens really became members of the Humboldt community, specifically in Eureka, where there was the largest Chinatown in Humboldt, which eventually grew to about 230 people. And unfortunately, in 1885, we have the Chinese expulsion event, which occurred after a local councilman was caught in the crossfire of two Chinese community members who were having a gunfight. And within about an hour of that, he was dead. And a mob quickly formed of about 600 people who were calling for the death of the Chinese community as a whole, pretty much. And fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, and the mayor at the time, Mayor Walsh, uh, elected a committee of about 15 people, 15 men, who were given the task of rounding up the Chinese community and evicting them within 24 hours. So they were rounded up, stored in a warehouse overnight. It took about 2 days to gather all the Chinese community members of Eureka and the surrounding areas, and then they were shipped to San Francisco. And unfortunately, the officials in San Francisco weren't made aware of these events, weren't told that these people were coming. So once they got to the docks in San Francisco, they scattered, and we really don't have much record of them after that. It's kind of hard to track them down. But the following year, there were some Chinese community members who came back with a lawsuit looking for reparations for their businesses and their personal possessions. And unfortunately, that case was cited against them. But it was one of the first cases, or it was the first case seeking reparations in the United States of that kind. And then for about 80 years after that, there was a long history of Chinese exclusion in Humboldt that was really made a feature of the identity of the county until the 1950s. Yeah.
I was not aware of the lawsuit aspect.
Yes. So it's really cool to be able to highlight not just what happened to our Chinese community members, but the resilience and resistance that they put up against it, and how they, tried to find justice after those events.
So how is it that something like the Eureka Chinatown Project, how does something like that bring, would we call them reparations? Is that even what was being sought after in this, or just kind of a remembrance, or a kind of like, let's not forget the past? Like what is the symbolism behind having a Eureka Chinatown?
Yeah, definitely. I think by being able to share these stories, by being able to educate our community, we can kind of heal from this and move towards a community and a future that is more inclusive, that can act more justly, that can learn from our past mistakes. And especially in the current climate we are today, there's a lot of lessons that we can take from our history and hopefully not repeat the mistakes that we've made before.
So Annette, I'm just wondering because as a poet and artist, I'm curious what your take is on both the history and the recent events. We'll get into what's going to happen this weekend in a moment, but kind of the creation of the Eureka Chinatown, the murals that have come up, the celebrations that have been happening. Just curious on your take on that.
Yeah, well, I think it's a really important and beautiful way to reclaim a history that was very rich and then had a very dark chapter. And I appreciate how the HAPI approach, the Humboldt Asian Pacific Islanders group, has sort of leaned into the celebration and the joy. I mean, it's a really beautiful mural that's been painted in Chinatown. But is definitely not shying away from the hard truth of what happened, and the fact that we need to really come to terms with that in order to heal and move on.
So it's the year of the snake, which I know the celebration was, or the Lunar New Year is in January. Why are we celebrating that in May out here?
Well, this is the street festival is celebrating one Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, celebrating the Chinese community as a whole, and then this is just a way not to celebrate on the date, but just to celebrate a new year in the way that we can. And the Year of the Snake specifically is other than being the snake is known for its like intelligence or its wisdom, but the Year of the Snake traditionally is a year of transformation. The snake kind of represents that transformation. So that's each year has its own specific thing in mind, but that's always a good thing to think about. Especially this year is the 140th anniversary of the Eureka Chinese expulsion event. So yeah, it's just a very powerful time, and so yeah.
So since the expulsion, it's kind of hard to grasp how much of the population 240 people were 100 years ago. And I'm not sure what percentage, the Chinese or Hmong or Pacific Islander population is here at this point. And I'm not that I expect anybody to do math or know specific demographics, but has the population come back up?
It has reached the levels that it was at when the Chinese were expelled, which I'm not sure what the exact percentage is, but at this point we have, it took a while, but we've reached that point again. But still, probably somewhere around 5 or less percent of the population. So still a pretty small Chinese or Asian community up here compared to what it could have been if history had turned out a different way, definitely.
That is a good point, that population growth tends to occur when people aren't, kicked out
Yes.
or murdered.
Or actively told not to come here. Yeah.
So with the celebrations happening, let's keep sticking on the history part, but let's get more to recent history. My producer says it's about 3% of the population would be considered Asian and Pacific Islander, which is a small percentage, but that's quite a few people, and that the impact of Asian and Pacific Islanders in Humboldt County is pretty huge, especially with the history. We're just community building and learning about each other sometimes. Though in recent years, when HAPI is a fairly new nonprofit, and then the Eureka Chinatown Project is even more new than that. Where did this all come from, and how hard was it to get going?
So HAPI began in 2021, and that came out of, I believe it's called Swingposium. So some of the founding members were involved with taiko drumming and things like that, and they just saw a lot of community willingness and outreach that inspired them to create HAPI from that. And then the ECP, I believe, is maybe from 2021, which aimed to specifically, honor the Chinese community and that history. I am pretty new to the ECP and HAPI, just a few months working with them, so I don't have the most knowledge of their history. I don't know, Annette, if you want to speak more on that.
Well, I just wanted to add a fun wrinkle that a local artist, Amy Ueki, produced a documentary for Keep TV, the PBS affiliate here, about the role of big bands in the Japanese concentration camps during World War II. And it turns out there was a pretty vibrant tradition of having big bands and swing dancing in these camps. And so she produced a documentary about that combined with her Japanese woodcut prints that she animated. And I'm not sure exactly when that came out, when that aired. Some of your listeners may have seen it.
The film is called Searchlight Serenade, for those
Thank you.
Googling
Yes.
right now. And
okay, good. Yeah, and somehow that it led to the taiko drumming tradition, and there is a fantastic Humboldt taiko group, super high energy, they will be performing at the street festival Saturday, right, Chris?
Correct. Yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
there.
And folks may have seen them elsewhere. And so there's a lot of energy there that seems like the musicians are mostly Asian, although maybe not 100%. But anyhow, it seems like they had a pretty good, like, tight group going, and I'm thinking HAPI kind of formed out of that core group. So, yeah.
So super fun question before we get into I'm gonna wait till after the break when Chris should be here, or sorry, not Chris, when Eric should be getting here to talk about kind of everything that's going to be inside the festival. Though a question people often have for going to maybe cultures that they're not part of or don't feel directly connected to, but want to learn more. What is there anything that would be considered cultural appropriation while attending this event? What is the how to be appropriate when engaging in specific cultures? And every culture is different. I'm very aware of that. So I thought I'd ask for those who are not part of the culture, how to engage without being offensive, or is it anything goes?
I think as long as you come with an open mind and willingness to learn, and aren't doing, like a caricature or an accent of some sort, then everyone's just there to enjoy and celebrate together. We will have a history booth. HAPI will have a history booth there with some of our local historians and people involved with HAPI who will be able to give you more information. As well as we will have some signs up at our monument site, which is going to be at E and First at the end of the street there. So people have the opportunity to learn more about the Chinese community, Chinese culture, and the history of our Eureka Chinatown.
I'll just add to that HAPI every year has been organizing an Obon festival in August. At the old creamery district in Arcata. And this is a Japanese tradition of an annual celebration to honor your ancestors, and there's special dancing and food and booths, and it's a lot of fun. And people are encouraged to wear kimonos or traditional Japanese attire. And I noticed the organizers have made a point of saying, please, everybody is welcome to wear the kimono or other Japanese attire. We Japanese people appreciate that Westerners can appreciate these styles and sort of keep it alive. So the energy is, I think, very inclusive, and we're just happy to have people learn more about the culture and appreciate it, learn more about the history. And come on down.
Love that. Always like to ask, because sometimes there's several smaller groups in Humboldt. Some are like, please don't wear our regalia. Some are like, please do. That it just depends. So thought I would ask, and I love that. Show up, have fun. Don't be dumb. I think is don't be a jerk and don't be dumb.
Right.
You think this would be common knowledge or something most people would think about, but in case they didn't, there you go. That's your dress code. Be cool. We are going to take a quick break, and right after the break, we'll get back to talking about the Eureka Chinatown Project, as well as the festivities happening to celebrate the festival this weekend. Welcome back to Thursday Night Talk. I'm your local host, Talvi Fried. We are discussing the Eureka Chinatown Project, which is an initiative of the Humboldt Asian Pacific Islanders, aka HAPI, as well as a collaboration between community members honoring the history and culture of the first Chinese people in Humboldt County. This coming Saturday is the celebration for kind of a mix of Lunar New Year as well as the a celebration of the culture and history in general of Eureka Chinatown. Let's get into, oh, we've got Chris Chu here, Annette Makino. We're gonna have Tuan coming in a little bit, though I kind of want to get into what is gonna happen this weekend, because who doesn't like being prepared and having their festival readiness kit? So first up is, where is it? When is it? Times are important in Humboldt, and then we'll go from there and what people can experience.
Yeah, so the street festival itself is happening on Saturday, May 3rd. From 4 to 6 p.m., we have our lion dance troupe who's going to be going around Old Town Eureka and blessing businesses. So traditionally, lion dancers have been used to ward off evil spirits and usher in good luck and prosperity. So there's about 15 different businesses that they're going to go around to. And then from 6 to 9, our festival will be happening. We have a lot of cultural performances. We have the Piedmont East Bay Children's Choir, like you said, doing the Echoes of Eureka performance. We also have the taiko drummers and the Lao dancers. We even have the Eureka High School K-pop group coming to do a performance. So a lot of different stuff going on there, which should be pretty fun. And those cultural performances will run from about 6 to about 8:30, ending with a little dragon dance parade from the monument site to the Clark Museum. But we also have a few other events going on during the weekend from Friday till Sunday. So the Echoes of Eureka performances start on Friday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. at Cal Poly Humboldt. And that is a free admission, open to the public. Everyone's invited to come. Obviously, they're going to be performing at the street festival as well. And then the following day, Sunday, May 4th, they will be performing at the Morris Graves Museum. So they'll be performing all weekend, so you have multiple chances to catch them if you can't happen to make it to any of the other ones. And then we have a few different art and poetry exhibits going on. So we have 10,000 Gates, which is a celebration of Humboldt Asian American artists. So that's about a dozen different local Asian or Asian American artists who are joining up and putting on an exhibit. Also Saturday, May 3rd from 6 to 9, and that'll be at the Morris Graves Museum of Art. And then Annette, if you want to talk a little bit about Ink to Paper, which is our other event going on.
Sure, yeah. So Sunday we have the opera at 1 at the Morris Graves in the Rotunda, and I see Eric is just about to join us, so we'll hear more about that. And then at 2 o'clock, right after that, there's what we think, pretty sure, is the first poetry reading in Humboldt County of Asian American poets. And it happens that 3 of us are also artists with pieces in the art show at the Morris Graves, and those 3 of us will be also showing slides along with our poetry. And I can go into lots more detail on that, but that's the headline.
Well, please do, because there's the poetry it's an exhibition.
It's a reading.
Yeah. It's a reading. Okay. And
yeah.
How did you find, like, is it all Humboldt County? Is it people from out of Humboldt?
It is pretty much, yes. Yeah. So there aren't, as we've just gone over, there aren't that many Asians in Humboldt County. We said 3%, and then there aren't that many established poets among those. So by established, I mean generally people who've like published books or published in journals, and not just who write poetry for fun. But we do have 6 of us presenting. There's Tony Wallen-Sato, who is from Humboldt, and has taught at Humboldt and still teaches at Humboldt. He currently spends a lot of time in Long Beach as well, and he has a really interesting background, difficult background of troubled youth and addiction and incarceration. And now he actually works with formerly incarcerated people to help them reintegrate once they're released. And so a lot of his poetry is about that experience, and it also combines with his Japanese heritage. And then we have Daryl Ni Chin, who is 80 years old and has had a very long and eclectic life. He has taught poetry at Humboldt, and he is going to read us poems from, I have no idea. He's had such an interesting life, so that will be very interesting. And let's see, we have Libby Yi, who is a Chinese brush painter and often writes poems to accompany her art. So I'm looking forward to that. And Amy Ueki, who I mentioned earlier, she's actually not a poet, but her grandmother, Shizue Harada, was a Japanese war bride who came to the US in the 1920s. And she, not a war bride, I mean a picture bride. And so she wrote senru, which is a kind of poem very similar to haiku, but more sort of humorous and satirical. And she wrote them through her whole life. And then Amy created a book of her grandmother's poems that combine with Amy's artwork. So Amy will be reading her grandmother's kind of funny poems, showing them with Amy's artwork. And then Kumi Watanabe, who's local, retired from the Cal Poly Humboldt Library, will be reading them in Japanese. Mark Shikuma is another Japanese-American poet with a really interesting, complicated heritage that he'll be sharing. And then finally, I am a haiku poet and an artist who often combines my haiku with art. So I am still working out my presentation, but there'll be art and there'll be haiku.
Very cool. What is the significance of 10,000 Gates?
Yeah, so that's the name of the art show. And there are 12 of us, and we have very different backgrounds. We're all Asian, but some of the cultures that we're either were born in or have in our heritage are Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Cambodian, Vietnamese, also some mixes, like I'm half Swiss. Kate B is half Salvadoran, and I think Amy Leon has some Mexican heritage. So we're very diverse in our ages. I think we figured we go 36 to 92. And we have very different backgrounds. Ted Su was a neuroscientist. The late Suk Chu Kim was an internationally known photographer and businessman. And he's represented. And so, yes, we have these very different backgrounds, but we're also all Asian. And so we bring commonality and difference. And the idea for the title is that there are infinite ways that we straddle those cultures of being Asian and being in Humboldt County. And each of us represents them in different ways. But there are ways that we sort of manage that border between being Asian and being Humboldt.
Well, thank you. So we do have Eric Tuan, who just joined us. He is he's a composer and artistic director of the Piedmont East Bay Children's Choir. I do want to welcome you and give you an opportunity to talk about Echoes of Eureka, which we kind of went over when it is, which is Saturday early, though Feel free, Eric, to jump in and let people know what they can experience and any bit of history about it that you'd like to give.
Thank you so much for having me. We are so delighted to be bringing this piece to Humboldt County. Echoes of Eureka is a 30-minute choral opera. Although opera might not be the right word, it's kind of a staged choral piece or a work of musical theater or a half-spoken, half-sung performance art piece. So it's a sort of cross-genre retelling performed by children's choir of the 1885 expulsion of the Chinese community from Eureka and later the rest of Humboldt County, and their subsequent resistance in the form of Wing Hing versus Eureka, which was the first lawsuit filed for reparations by a group in US history. So it's a wonderfully significant legal moment. The piece describes both the violence of the expulsion and the sadly very resonant xenophobia and economic concern and racism that led up to that event, but it also celebrates the resistance of the Chinese community in filing this lawsuit. The piece is based very heavily on materials shared by Humboldt, Asian and Pacific Islanders in Solidarity, HAPI. When I was writing the piece, I reached out to them last year and they shared census records, information about Eureka's Chinatown, the memoir of the Reverend Charles Huntington, who was a witness to these events. And I was able to incorporate all of that into the performance of the piece. So we're really looking forward to sharing that. There are 3 performances tomorrow night, Friday at 7 p.m. at Cal Poly Humboldt at the Native American Forum. We'll perform a shortened version outside on Saturday at the Eureka Chinatown Street Festival at 6 p.m. And then we'll perform the whole piece again on Sunday at 1 p.m. at the Morris Graves Museum of Art.
I'm curious how you took the entire history of Chinese Americans in Eureka and created a piece that's only 30 minutes long. That sounds absolutely insane. What are the elements that you're using? Are there, because you say opera, but not an opera. What sort of instruments are going to be involved? Is there singing? I'm not sure.
Sure. So this is, it's performed by the Piedmont East Bay Children's Choir by one of our ensembles. We enroll about 300 students in Oakland and the East Bay, but these are our 40 oldest singers who are coming to perform. The piece just uses their voices and a handful of percussion instruments and the piano. So they're singing some of the story, they're speaking some of the story. So there's music that goes throughout, but it's a mixture of singing and speaking. And the piece centers around the story of a young 18-year-old named Charlie Wei Lum, whose individual story we know about from records. He came to Eureka in the 1880s and became part of the Chinese community there, but also well integrated into a white church. And in 1885, when the Chinese community was expelled, he went to say goodbye to the minister that he had been close to and his family. And people saw him going into a white house. They dragged him out. He was almost lynched and hung from a gallows. But he was saved by the intervention of this minister. So the piece centers around that story. It reflects on what it means to be a bystander or to be an ally in moments like that. So it begins with a narrative part telling about those events, drawing on newspaper articles that Alex Service, a historian from Humboldt County, shared with me. Then there's a brief reflection, musical reflection on what it means to stand with another person. In the middle, there's a naming ceremony. So all of the students embody someone whose story we can tell from Humboldt County. So they remember, my name is Wei Lam, I'm 45 years old. I own this business on this corner of Eureka's Chinatown. I'm really trying to situate it as specifically as we can so that we can show that people are not an abstraction, right? These were all real people with families and communities and livelihoods. And then the piece moves into some more reflection. There's a piece called An Anthem of Resistance, singing about the lawsuit. And then there's the setting of a poem by Daryl Ni Chin, who you already mentioned. And he has written a poem that will be inscribed into the forthcoming monument to Eureka's Chinatown. So I took some of those words with his permission and incorporated them into the piece as a reflection that takes that story and reminds us that it is also a current story. And the piece closes with the question, this is an old story, but it is your story too. When you carry it away into the world, who will you be? So we're asking the audience to think about, the historical resonances of this story and how we can respond in the present day.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful. If there's any chance that you can do a recording of it or come back and replay it, I will be there. I have work. That makes me. I'm like literally like, can I make it? Because that sounds absolutely incredible. You're a genius, and that sounds like something that's going to make me cry. You mentioned a fourth monument. And I am curious about the other monuments as well as what this fourth monument is. I remember there were fundraising efforts, but I thank you for reminding me. I do want to ask about the progress with that and what's going to happen. And that might be more of a question for Chris, though. If you know, Eric, then please.
I just wanted to clarify, my connection is not great here, but I meant to say forthcoming monument because I understand you guys will be breaking ground on it soon. So it is the monument that has been fundraised for.
Forthcoming, not the fourth monument. Okay. I got very confused. I was like, what were the other monuments? But actually, let's my faux pas. Let's get into that with Chris. What were the fundraising efforts? They've come to fruition, it turns out. I did want to ask about that, so I do appreciate you bringing that up. And when is it going up? When is that groundbreaking? Is it this weekend?
No, not yet. If we're lucky and everything goes to plan, maybe at the end of the summer. We don't have a definite date yet, but everything is coming along really great. We have artist John King and landscape architect Jessica Hall working with us to create this monument. And this monument really is exemplifying how the past actions that we have talked about aren't going to be reshaped, but can be reframed in a new way to celebrate the beauty of these dark times and show the compassion and the grace that we have in our current community, and is a great way, just like Eric's opera piece, to give a voice to those people who have been silenced for so long and whose stories have been either ignored or actively erased for a long time here. And it's a cool way to involve the community so people can walk up to it. There's going to be a poem engraved there, and it's going to be sort of an interactive piece. And yeah, it's just a cool way to celebrate how the community is growing and how we are becoming a more diverse community, and we're able to seek out and share these different perspectives and educate the community on the history that's happened, and hopefully move towards a more inclusive space. Yeah, so it's a really cool project that's been in the works for a long time, and we're happy to see it finally coming to fruition.
Annette, before we take our break, I just want to ask if you have any little bit to add on to that before we, take a quick moment.
I wish we could show people the sketch of what it will look like. It looks absolutely beautiful with stone and cement and water feature and cherry. It looks like maybe cherry trees. So I'm very excited to see it. And maybe in the video version of this, you can show an image of it.
Yeah,
But it'll be a great addition to Eureka. Yeah.
Send it over to us. Absolutely. We're going to take a quick little break here and be right back on Thursday Night Talk, talking about the Eureka Chinatown Project. Welcome back to Thursday Night Talk. I'm your local host, Talvi Fried. We are talking about the Eureka Chinatown Project. You've got a few minutes if you are listening to the show, either on KZH 96.7 FM or online, to text us any questions you may have for our panelists, 707-498-4146. That's 707-498-4146. I'm here with Annette Makino, artist and poet, also the organizer of the poetry exhibition 10,000 Gates that will be performed over the weekend as well. You have art on display at the Morris Graves Museum. Chris Chu, program coordinator for the Eureka Chinatown Project, and Eric Tuan, who is a composer and the artistic director for Piedmont East Bay Children's Choir, and will be having what sounds like a very heart-tugging exhibition of your opera, which is very cool. Also, there will be K-pop groups there. Did I hear that right? I really have to ask about that.
We have the Eureka High School K-pop group coming to perform a dance along with some music accompaniment at the festival. So yeah, we're happy to have them come join us again. They were there last year. So yeah, they will be there.
That sounds like so much fun.
Don't forget about the lion dancers. That's going to be a big part of it too.
The lion dancers are going to be performing at the end of every hour, as well as there's going to be a parade, and a dragon dance parade that they're also doing at the end of the festival, alongside the business blessings that they're doing from 4 to 6 p.m. So if anyone wants to come along, we're doing a parade around Old Town Eureka, where businesses will offer a donation, and some of them even a head of lettuce, and feed it to the lions, who will eat it up and throw it everywhere. There's going to be drums accompanying them, so it's going to be a really, really fun event.
So I wanted to ask about the evil spirits that will be eradicated during this event. What are the evil spirits, and how do we eradicate them?
Just these negative, just traditionally, negative spirits that bring harm or bring bad luck. This is just one way for us to, come together as a community and celebrate the good parts, and to really usher in a good year for our businesses, try and bring a lot of prosperity in these trying times.
On a personal level, are there any traditions that each of you have experienced that you think would be fun for others to know about? Let's start with Annette.
Well, I don't know if this is exactly fun, but my family has a ancestor shrine at my family home in Redwood Valley near Ukiah, California, where we have some little statues, actually clay figures representing our ancestors. And I also have one outside at my home in Arcata, under some redwood trees. And so it's a little bit of Japanese culture to come and, greet the ancestors with a bow and maybe a little offering of some flowers or berries, and to just sort of check in and honor the people who came before us and made us who we are.
Eric, any thing you would like to share that's kind of like that you think might be culturally unique to you, or just anything cool?
Sure. I am of very mixed Asian heritage. So I am Chinese, Japanese, and Filipino descent. So my family Thanksgivings are always a wonderfully mixed palette of food. So we at our Thanksgivings, we usually make lumpia and pancit, which are Filipino dishes. And then we roll hand rolls and make some sushi that usually one of my family members has caught some fresh fish to be able to do that. And then we eat tangerines from my grandmother's tree, which have a special significance because she's from the city of Nagasaki and she's a survivor of the atomic bomb there. And tangerines were some of the only things she had access to eat in the week after the bomb. So she remembers those as being very life-giving. So for us, you know, sharing food and the stories around that food is very special.
Chris?
Yeah. For me, growing up, getting to go and watch the lion dancers or dragon dances in downtown Chinatown in San Francisco was always a very, very fun event for me. We would have the little paper popper things that you would throw around, and just being able to experience all the people around you celebrating, hearing the drums, seeing the people jumping around with their with the dragon puppets and suits that they're wearing is really cool. So it's fun that we get to bring that up here to Eureka, and we have the professional lion dance troupe that luckily we were able to have come up here and celebrate with us. So I think that's a real fun way to get the community involved. Also, part of Lunar New Year, but also year round, are these red envelopes that you can put money in and give out kind of as a sign of respect and honor, and also this bringing in good luck and prosperity. And we'll have those also at the street festival if anyone wants to partake in that. And yeah, it's just the celebration really is fun, especially in a large crowd, to feel that energy and just feel all that positiveness surrounding you. So yeah.
I should note, it sounds like it'll be really fun for kids.
It
Yes.
does. It really does.
And it's free, right?
Yes, it's free. It's a free family fun event.
My students can't wait to see the K-pop group, especially.
I
I'm
know,
really looking forward to see the amazing lineup.
It all sounds like a whole lot of fun. Eric, you did mention food as kind of a signifier of the different cultures that you're from coming together around holidays, and I have to ask, what sorts of food vendors are going to be there, and were they specifically chosen to kind of represent the Asian community of Humboldt County?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of food vendors who are going to be there. We try to include as many Asian and just people of color in our lineup as we could. So we have some Filipino cuisine from Christina Lorenzo that's going to be there. We have Food with Hoy, which is another Asian vendor, and we have Fry Bread Love. And we also we have a big lineup actually. We have Mini Donuts. Love Mini Donuts is going to be there with their food truck. And then we also have just other community members, like a Humboldt Bay Burgers is going to be there, Racks on Racks Wings, Los Giles Taqueria. I could go through the whole list here. Fusion Bites. So yeah, just a lot of great food is going to be there. It's going to be real fun. I think we have about 15 different food vendors who are going to be there for the festival.
It sounds like a super, for anybody who I have gone to several Lunar New Year events in Los Angeles and San Francisco. in their Chinatowns or Koreatown in LA a lot. And it is so much fun. And I know that if like it's especially for youth, definitely a family friendly, very, very fun experience. And what a culturally enriching one for Humboldt County, because you know, as fun as so many events are, and they really are, if you can learn while having fun, that's even better. And this sounds like a true celebration of both history and kind of a positive welcoming of the future. Though we are going to enter round robin now. That is a time where each of you on our panel gets about 2 to 3 minutes. You can talk about whatever you want in any way to either wrap up your thoughts on what we've discussed, or whatever you'd like to tell those listening or watching on our Access Humboldt TV stations or on our YouTube channel, or who are listening online right now. So just 2 to 3 minutes. Chris, I'm going to start with you, then we'll go to Eric, and then we'll end with Annette. So Chris.
Yeah. I just want to say that the Eureka Chinatown Project is amazing. It's really cool to see how the community has embraced this and supported us as we get to tell these stories that haven't been told, and to share all these different perspectives and get to raise awareness about the history of anti-Chinese discrimination and all that entails that, but also to celebrate these wonderful communities and move towards this more inclusive, just, equitable future that we're creating as a community. And if anyone wants to help out with that, whatever resources they have, whether it's their time or their money, they can see how to help us and support us through our website at hapihumboldt.org. So there we have ways to donate money towards the mural or the monument that's being created, or towards HAPI or the Eureka Chinatown Project. Or if you want to volunteer, resources on how to reach out to us and ways to get involved. And I just want to thank everyone who's involved with HAPI and the community at large for being so wonderful, and very excited to see everyone at the street festival.
So I just want to reiterate, it's HAPI Humboldt, HUMBOLDT.org.
Correct. Yes.
Cool. And I'm assuming all the, well, I know because I've checked out the website, all the information for this weekend will be on there, including a schedule on the very front page.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Eric, we've got a couple minutes here. Take them how you want.
I just want to thank the Eureka Chinatown Project and HAPI for inviting us to participate in this street festival and in these other performances. It is so moving to be invited to participate in telling these stories, as you said, Chris, and lifting up voices that have been silenced for so long, even though the historical records are there to bring them to life through revoicing and creativity and a reframing of that experience. My students were particularly thrilled to learn that some of the descendants of the people they are portraying in the opera will be there at the performances. A descendant of the minister who saved this young Chinese boy's life will be there, as will a descendant of Charlie Moon, who did not leave Humboldt County during the expulsions. So it's just going to be an amazing learning experience for them and for us to be on site and able to tell these stories in the place where they happened. If you'd like to learn more about the opera, our website is piedmontchoirs.org, piedmontchoirs.org. And there's a special webpage there that spotlights the Echoes of Eureka project, and you can learn more about the opera and watch a preview. So thanks again for having us, and we're so looking forward to being up with you this weekend.
Thank you so much. You did mention Charlie Moon. For those who are curious, I did do a show a while ago that spoke heavily on Charlie Moon and the history, though if anybody real quick wants to do like a 1-minute Charlie Moon clip history, feel free to go for it.
In my understanding, what the historians have shared, Charlie Moon worked on a farm in Humboldt County, and in 1885, when folks tried to expel the Chinese community there, he did not go. The rancher whom he worked for said no, and he actually married a Wiyot woman, an indigenous woman, and had a family and stayed on the land and kept cultivating and stewarding it there. And I understand that many of the Moon descendants are involved with Eureka Chinatown Project and with HAPI.
Thank you. That's a good summation. And we do have Charlie Moon Way, as well as the mural that kind of represents him. For those who want more of a history, go check out Thursday Night Talks by looking it up on YouTube, and you can find our past historic thing on that. Annette, you've got a couple minutes. Whatever you'd like people to know. If you want to talk about Charlie Moon more, that's cool.
Okay. No, I think you covered that. Yeah, I also want to thank HAPI Humboldt for pulling together this amazing umbrella sort of celebration of Asian American culture in Humboldt County. There being so few of us, it's really especially meaningful and rich to have a chance to come together like this to celebrate our culture, what makes it unique, and all the diversity within it. I want to encourage folks to come check out the Morris Graves Museum this Saturday during Arts Alive from 6 to 9. All the 11 living artists will actually be on hand, and we would love to chat with you about our art. It's incredibly diverse and really stimulating to the range of forms of expression there. There will also be live music from 6 to 9. It's kind of an East meets West concert. There's a couple called Silk Road Junction 101 playing flute, harmonium, and koto, which is a Japanese instrument, and the South Asian tabla drum will be played, and then there'll also be a jazz pianist playing. And then the next day, come for the opera at 1 o'clock in the rotunda. Stay there till 2, when we'll have 6 poets of ancestry sharing our unique takes on what it is to live in this place when you're Asian. So I hope everyone feels very welcome to come out.
Thank you so much to our panel tonight, those who are helping create this weekend events going on with the Eureka Chinatown Project and Festival. We've got Chris Chu, Program Coordinator, Eric Tuan, composer and artistic director of the Piedmont East Bay Children's Choir, which I wish I could, I hope you film it and then send us a copy so we can share it with everybody, because that sounds so very powerful. And of course, Annette Makino, artist and poet, as well as the organizer of the poetry exhibition that will be on and who has art up at the Morris Graves Museum. The poetry exhibition will be the 10,000 Gate, and it sounds fascinating. This is going to be a very artsy Arts Alive. I'm your local host, Talvi Fried. That is all the time that we have today. I'll be back next week with another Thursday Night Talk. For more information on HAPI, visit HAPIHUMBOLDT.org, HAPIHumboldt.org. For all of the timelines for everything going on over the weekend. If you have topics or suggestions for this show, if you're like, wow, I have something going on and I want to be on that show, or even questions for past panelists, feel free to email us at kzzh@accesshumboldt.net. Reminder, the show replays Friday evenings, 8 p.m. right here on KZZH 96.7 FM. You can watch our show, of course, on Access Humboldt cable channels, channel 12. It'll be playing throughout the weekend, as well. Maybe it'll be repeating on some of the others, one of the other 4 stations. And you can always check us out on YouTube. We've got hours and hours and hours of my face talking to community members and those who are influencing the community. So thanks so much for hanging out, and I hope you enjoy what is going to be a very, very busy weekend. You're going to see a lot of Kinetic folks because that's coming up soon. You're going to experience the Eureka Chinatown Project and everybody who's part of HAPI and all that they've put together. Make sure to go look at all the cool murals. It's supposedly not going to rain this weekend during an Arts Alive. I'm not sure this has happened for a very long time, so I will see you out there in the art world over the weekend. Get some culture. Don't just sit inside and watch YouTube all day, unless you're watching me, but you can come back and watch me later. All right, cheers. Catch you next week.